Thank you for coming today, you guys. My name's Aaron Hankey. I'm a partner at Ariento, which is a Los Angeles-based veteran-owned company that offers secure IT solutions for small companies and individuals. We're the company responsible for hosting and putting on this conference today, and we're very excited about it. I mean, this is a conference that we truly believe in. It's something important for you guys to know, and obviously you guys are here with us and believe that as well. So first off, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Bruin Professionals and the UCLA Alumni Association. They're responsible for this venue here today where we get to host this conference. Jeffrey Mangels, Butler and Mitchell LLP. They are a law firm that specializes in cyber law, and they're helping their clients and people understand an issue from a legal perspective on something that's changing each day. Bolton and Company, which like JMBM is a full-service insurance agency that also provides cyber liability insurance. They are once again paving the way on an issue, a growing issue, and a need, as well as ML Methods and their CEO, Garth Massey. So like I said, as a veteran-owned company, we truly appreciate what Garth, as a CEO, and as well as his employees are doing. They're taking the military structure and the leadership model and then helping private industries, organizations, and individuals understand that model and also take that into their daily lives and how they operate their business. And last but not least, Secure the Village, as well as Veterans for American Business Development. Their willingness to support this event and their work here and the hard work of everyone involved has truly made this possible today. And like I said, it really is a truly special event. I mean, for starters, we have 3 state elected officials here who, by their peers, are recognized as rising stars for the state of California. We have no doubt, we appreciate you guys being here, and we have no doubt that you'll continue to represent us and the region and the state of California for a long time to come. We're all here because we acknowledge that cybercrime is an issue, it's a growing issue, and it's something we're all trying to comprehend. And for that reason, we're here, we're trying to comprehend it, and we're very lucky to have these experts here today that understand this 21st century issue and what has become the biggest threat in the 21st century for small businesses and individuals. So they truly are the pioneers, modern day pioneers. So with that being said, there's a couple logistical things I want to cover before I introduce Senator Allen. So bathroom is over here on the left side. If you guys can use the back slider instead of this one, that's great because people will go in and out. It gets kind of noisy. For the people who are here for their CPE credits, CPAs, you can get your certificate when you leave at the registration desk where you signed up. Also, when you leave, take a bag. We have a goodie bag with some stuff in there for you. And then we got access to the UCLA Athletics Hall of Fame. So it's an optional tour if you guys want to do it afterward. We'll meet in the back and we can go take a tour and see the Athletics Hall of Fame. And then lastly, I just want to let you guys know, I'm sure you've seen the cameras and the signs, but Cal CPA, which is the statewide organization for CPAs, is here filming the event. All right, so with that, Senator Ben Allen, he represents West Side and South Bay communities of Los Angeles. He chairs the Senate Education Committee and serves on the committees on natural resources, water, transportation and housing, and elections and constitutional amendments. His policy priorities include education, the environment, jobs and the economy, transportation, and political reform. Prior to his election to the Senate in 2014, he was a board member of the Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District. So with that being said, Senator Ben Allen.
Yeah.
Hi, well, good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's feeling nice and fresh. Make sure to get a little coffee because it's early. But I want to just take a moment to welcome you to my district. Sebastian Ridley-Thomas and I represent this area in the state legislature. We have 40 state senators, 80 assembly members, and we're all working every day to try to make our state better. Kevin Kiley's come down from the Sacramento region and is a good friend from across the aisle, and we work really closely together on a number of issues. And so I think we're in for a good conference. We're going to talk about the ins and outs of the technology, and then a little bit about the policy side. I obviously want to thank Ariento. I want to thank Aaron, especially for inviting me to join you here today. So we're going to be talking about current cybersecurity challenges in California, whether they operate in the tech space or just depend on its innovation. And we're going to talk about how we can prepare for cyber threats in a climate where both the technology and the regulatory environments are constantly evolving. And certainly we are acutely aware of how challenging some of the global cyber threats are becoming in so many different spaces, from attacks on our corporate and economic infrastructure to threats to the ballot and our elections operations to threats to our government. So there's a lot of challenges out there. I'm proud that in my Senate district, we've got the headquarters and campuses for companies that are household names, offices and incubators for startups that hope to become household names one day. I've held roundtable discussions with some of these businesses, and the concerns from many of the participants weren't that different than what you'd hear at a local Chamber of Commerce meeting. In Sacramento, the debate surrounding technology remains as robust as it's ever been. We've got arguments over taxes and fees and privacy and security, regulation of new business models that are disputing and disrupting other and older ways of doing things, whether it's the way you get a ride in town, whether it's the way you get a room, whether you get the way you buy a product or service. And this debate can challenge our way of thinking, our way of looking at the world, in part because technology is really changing the fabric of the society from which it springs. Now, I'm hoping that this conversation occurs in an inclusive manner as we find common ground and really 21st century solutions that will continue to allow California's disruptors and innovators to thrive while being just disruptive enough to really help our society while also making sure that we're being inclusive and bringing other folks along. Because one of the things that we see is that those who are disrupted too much can sometimes act out in all sorts of strange ways. And all we have to look at is some of the recent politics of the Rust Belt over the last couple of years. Because ultimately, we've got to keep evolving because ultimately we do ignore challenges and opportunities posed by technology at our own peril. Whether it's a credit card scanner, a smartphone, an email address, a hard drive, or a piece of manufacturing equipment with its own motherboard, in 2017, almost every business in California is reliant on software to perform day-to-day operations. The various agencies of our state government are no different, even though we may be using much older, older programs. That means that every business and virtually every aspect of civic society in the Golden State is vulnerable to cybersecurity threats. I literally just served on a jury this week. It was a fascinating experience. Didn't ever think they would select me, but they did. And all over the courthouse, they would have signs saying that our mainframe was updated when this was your widescreen, when your flat screen, and it was, of course, one of these old 50s TVs, making the point that we've got a lot of updating to do. And there's actually a lot of vulnerabilities associated with the fact that we haven't updated in our court system and elsewhere. Now, I do represent communities like Silicon Beach, where there's so much innovation happening, the communities of Westchester and Playa and Venice, Santa Monica. And so I think I feel an extra responsibility to be sensitive to both the opportunities for innovation as well as the vulnerabilities that adopting new technology may pose to governments, to businesses, and to the average Californians. Now, I know it may come as a bit of a shock to you, but elected officials are not always very good at being proactive. In fact, to the extent that there are laws and regulations protecting us from cyber threats, they're largely in reaction to attacks or breaches of security that have already happened. We always seem to be fighting yesterday's battles in the government. And there's some reasons for that, and to some extent you don't want the government to be too far ahead of things, because sometimes we will make errors that will jam up your ability to do your work. But there is a challenge associated with the way we do things. The headlines about ransomware, sabotage, theft, they've gotten policymakers' attention for sure. But the laws simply don't change as fast as a cyber virus can spread. As small businesses, ultimately you have to build and maintain the first line of defense from cybersecurity threats to come. The government is simply not in a place to protect you from some of the potential threats that are out there. So, it's incumbent upon you to pay close attention today. Politicians will continue to debate and pass laws that delineate who owns the data that an application or computer user generates, when and how that data can be used, how it's protected, what happens to the data when someone dies. The speakers today will give you an overview of what current cybersecurity and privacy law says, in what directions it's likely to go, what legal responsibilities and liabilities a business can potentially face, even as the victim of cybercrime. But ultimately, it's also our responsibility, and some of our staff, we're going to be here for some time, some of our staff are going to be here as well, to just learn as much as we can and really be as proactive as we can to work closely with business to make sure that we're partners in helping to protect ourselves and make sure that our innovation economy that has been such a big important part of California's growth continues to grow. You know, in Sacramento and back in our districts, we're lobbied on all of these issues by companies facing challenges not unlike yours. And there's a maxim in politics that I think you should keep in mind. You know, it's basically you're either at the table or you're on the menu. And so if there's one thing that you take away from my speaking with you today, it's I hope it's the advice that it's far better to be at the table as an active participant in the debate than to be forced to react when you find yourselves on the menu. So before it becomes necessary, get to know your government. If you haven't gotten to know your local city council member, your mayor, who your assembly member, who your senator is, introduce yourself to them. Get to know the neighborhood council, the chamber of commerce, the staffs. We are working in a very fluid, changing world, and we are constantly being barraged with lobbyists from traditional interest groups. It's so important to us that we hear from real folks in our districts who are doing the cutting edge work that we may not even fully understand. And so that's one of the reasons why I think it was so important for the three of us to be here today, to get to know you, to hear the challenges that you're facing, to build a relationship with you so that we can really make sure that we're doing right by our district and this emerging economy. We've got a couple of really interesting efforts going on in the Silicon Beach space. There's an organization called Scale LA, which is organizing and trying to create an advocacy kind of wing for the Silicon Beach community and the tech LA space. I actually had a VC tell me the other day that he doesn't like the name Silicon Beach because it sounds too chilled out. His whole point is that people are working really hard here and creating incredible products, and that we're better than what the beach seems to suggest. I love the beach, and I don't think it necessarily. I always seem to work at the beach too, so it doesn't seem always chill to me. But the point I'm making is that we want to help to create an advocacy voice for the tech community in LA. There's a strong voice for tech in Sacramento and in Washington, but it's very dominated by the folks in Silicon Valley. It's not that they don't have your interests at heart all the time. I mean, there's certainly a lot of shared interests, but it's a different environment there. We've got different challenges here. We've got real problems, being able to afford to pay coders at the rates that Silicon Valley is offering. We've got access to capital challenges because the VC community is so dominated by Silicon Valley. We've got a lot of our own infrastructural challenges here, from fiber to our housing patterns to transportation, and a lot of challenges associated with that as folks try to create startups in Venice or elsewhere. So we're trying to build an independent and forceful voice for the LA tech community up in Sacramento. This is part of this effort. I really appreciate you being here, and I hope this is the start of a long dialogue that we're all going to be having together as we make sure that California does right, working with our tech community and helping you grow and helping you stay safe. So thank you so much for your participation today, and I look forward to the discussions.
All right, very well said. Thank you, Senator. All right, next up, Assemblyman Sebastian Ridley-Thomas. He was first elected in December 2013 at the age of 26 and was enthusiastically reelected in 2014 and again in 2016 to represent California's 54th Assembly District, which includes LA County communities of Leimert Park, did I pronounce that right? Leimert Park, Jefferson Park, Arlington Heights, Lafayette Square, Wellington Square, Village Green, Baldwin Hills, and Baldwin Village, to name a few. The Assembly member serves on 4 Assembly standing committees. He is the chair of the Revenue and Taxation Committee and a member of the Health, Banking, and Financing Committee and the Local Government Committee. He previously served on the Appropriations, Elections, Public Safety, Labor, Rules, and Water Committees. Thank you, sir.
Thank you to the organizers of this event. This may not be necessary. Good morning to you all. it's all right to say good morning back. Good morning to you. Good morning. Excellent. Got to make sure you're still here and awake. Ben Allen can confound you with brilliance. But it's really my pleasure to be able to serve with him and Assemblyman Colley. We welcome you to West Los Angeles, welcome you back. You lived here and worked here. I'd like to acknowledge my Constituent Service Director, Steve Kang. Steve leads my office in Los Angeles. And is the person that if you live in Los Angeles and have a complaint, you call. You call me when it's all resolved and you're happy. You call him when it's in the middle of the night and the tree fell on your car. Today's conference is most timely. This has been, in public policy, gotten a lot of buzzword. It's a buzzword right now with cybersecurity and attacks. The risk to the state, to small businesses, to our businesses that are emerging and that have substantial footprints. The hacks that occur every day have really, I think, permeated public consciousness in ways that we hadn't seen in a couple of years. Just recently, HBO and the hottest television show on TV, Game of Thrones. I'm sure North will remember this. There's also the Walt Disney company that fell victim that upon the release of Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales, which ended up being a hoax, as I recall. And then those Netflix episodes of Orange is the New Black was ransomed. Netflix declined to pay the ransom, as we know, to stop the leak, which seemed to be the trend in the larger companies. And who could forget one of the largest employers in the district that I represent, I think the largest private sector employer, the Sony Hack, that was focused around the movie The Interview. Because of the notoriety of such offenses, is a serious reminder that Hollywood remains a vulnerable target for online pillagers. And we know about the entertainment industry's footprint in Los Angeles. It's a part of what makes our economy so diverse and so robust. In the district that I represent, a third of the private sector jobs are related to the entertainment industry. So to the extent that piracy undermines the economics of that business, that is a mortal threat to quality of life in the area that I represent. Major corporations, Target and Home Depot, made headlines when customer data was exposed. From what I understand, as of yesterday, I didn't appreciate that the Target hack was apparently, most of you probably already know this, but it was related to the energy delivery system. I thought it was some other reason, but that someone hacked the utility provider and backdoored into the Target system, which was something that literally I just learned yesterday morning. I'll allude at the conclusion of my remarks to why that's important. Cyber attacks are also here in our backyard, where one of the largest terminals in San Pedro was shut down because of malware capturing the system. And you know that goods movement, this is the number one goods movement region in the country. And it's competitive in the world other than, I think, the ports in China and some maybe in Japan. So threats to goods movement and the entertainment industry undermine the vibrancy of Southern California's economy, which helps our $2 trillion state economy. If it were set aside upon its own, it would be about fifth. If LA County was its own economy, it would be about 11th. So you just think about that and how this undermines commerce and quality of life. All these recent attacks indicate that we see a rise, and it is a part of the cost of doing business in the 21st century. While international cyber attacks are making headlines, the real cyber war is occurring on the 27 million small businesses here in the United States. According to the 2016 State of Small Business Cybersecurity Report, hackers have breached half of small businesses. Senator Allen may have alluded to it, but there are companies that are in our overlapping areas who have experienced hacks where CEOs have had hundreds of thousands of dollars authorized via email to be issued to shell companies and bank accounts and all that. And sometimes they're able to recover the monies, but I think it was 6 or 7 months ago, I was communicating with a person who has a small to mid-sized company in the area that is in our overlap, and they shared that. And I said, well, how did you do with it? How did you recover it? And I think it was only partial recovery of the monies. And that is unfortunately becoming a regular occurrence. And we have to figure out ways that public policy can help alleviate the challenges and promote broader security measures that protect all businesses. This is partly due to the fact, this rise, that they often don't have the resources to support a full-service IT. It's outsourced. This makes them vulnerable to even simple attacks, these small businesses, through the phishing via emails or fraudulent activities through e-commerce, as I alluded to. Some of you may know that 1 in 3 small businesses don't have the tools in place, firewalls, antivirus software, or data encryption software to protect themselves. I don't know that legislators are immune to that. What's most interesting is that while small businesses are most targeted, most owners don't often think they're at risk, which means the motivation to take proactive steps to safeguard their data is just not there. Taking more high-profile target attacks like Target and Home Depot, most small business owners feel that hackers are more interested in larger corporations that have the potential to affect millions of customers. A part of what I think this gathering will do, the messaging that comes out of this, that each of us can carry to our respective corners, is that, on the contrary, hackers find small businesses to be the best targets because they are the least prepared for the attacks. They don't have the resources to roll out an investigation and are more likely to pay the ransom, ranging on average from $3,500 to $5,000 to regain control of their data and computer systems. We recognize, that is, we policymakers who are here today and others, that small businesses do need the assistance to have a strong and robust defense. So what shall we do? I think there are a number of proactive steps, some of which are legislative, many of which are administrative and regulatory. One would be to provide resources and guidelines to small businesses, kind of continuing education from the steadily increasing numbers of cyber attacks. 2 is to make sure that the weak spots in the system, be they on the grid, be they in the online permitting process, various data points that individuals interact with government, think DMV, all that, voter systems, are as reduce vulnerability as much as possible. We also have a big challenge with respect to voter systems. California is going to be overhauling its voter rolls and the technologies as such. This is a very dated system. Ben Allen and I were chairing the respective elections committees about a year and a half ago, and we spent a lot of time talking about how we needed to modernize our voting systems. So LA County Registrar Dean Logan is leading a very robust effort to have a publicly owned system that is open source, that takes a holistic approach to security. Believe it or not, because of the challenges with ballots, it's not unlike if you have a business where you have product and you have technology that syncs with product, because you have to secure the ballot. It's most similar to currency or bullion in terms of how you have to secure it and the privacy protections therein, and then how that links back to technology. So the registered recorder will be having white and red hat testing, and is going to be recruiting a number of individuals to help improve the system. He ultimately hopes to make it so strong that it becomes a statewide apparatus and is potentially marketable to other states because of the innovations therein. And for those who are elections geeks, this is a system that is essentially an electronic poll book that allows you to change the way you do the voting booth from a precinct-based system to a vote center model. And Ben Allen was a leader on that. Vote center is similar to a precinct, but it doesn't discriminate based on geography. If you live in the county that's having the election, you can go to any vote center. It's much more convenient if you may work in Westwood but live in Pomona and the like. I think that. So all of that is going to be huge. And Dean Logan is a leader on that effort. Those who are very interested may want to reach out to them, and we are happy to facilitate the introduction. The colleagues of mine in the Assembly on the Select Committee on Cybersecurity are working on legislation that will address many of the challenges, including bolstering the state's Office of Privacy, a very obscure and little-known organization that in this era will take a much more robust role and could lead a cybersecurity task force to the extent that we feel we need one across state government. We have internal problems that are pretty bad. State has at least 9 payroll systems for its internal processes. SAS had the contract. It's always subject to dispute. Our voter system has several contractors that are competing for its work. Our local election systems and payroll systems and procurement systems are disparate. We will be updating this IT infrastructure. All IT projects, particularly of large agencies, are projects from hell, and they end up getting people fired and companies with all kind of trouble. So what we hope is that the state can itself be much better in the provision and structure of its technology apparatus and the protection of its data and its backdoors, firewalls, and the like, because it's your data. It's the people of California's data. Used to be that the worst thing that could happen is you send out a letter to recipients of services and their Social Security numbers were printed on the outside inadvertently of an envelope. That is almost the least of our challenges now. I look forward to hearing a great deal about what will be occurring here today. You all are all bringing something to bear, so I invite you to share, show, and inform. We will gain great insight from what you are doing, and we hope to see you in various contexts, be it in local governments or at state government, or even in our private work that we do, especially as a legislator. We touch so many different aspects of what occurs in the state. You all are going to benefit us, and we're going to figure out, we're going to meet someone here who will end up helping us advance good public policy, resolve our own personal issues, because we have organizations. Ben and I have 3 offices at least each, 2 in Sacramento and 1 here. We work with community colleges, local education agencies, also known as school districts, counties and cities. They all need you. They all need those whom you represent if you're one of the firms who is helping to host this event. And by virtue of sharing your knowledge and your wisdom, we will be able to take that information back. We'll be able to share it on social media. And I can tell you from filming Ben Allen just a few minutes ago on Facebook Live, I already got a couple of direct messages in my Facebook Messenger asking what's going on with cyber. Yeah, they were asking who is Benji single or not. He's getting ready to get married. So no. But they were also inquiring as to what we can do about cyber and how we can, I'm just telling the truth, man, what we can do about cyber and how we can improve the security apparatus. So this is an important gathering. This is a timely gathering. And I look forward to seeing you now and in the future, and that the future is more secure. Thank you.